happened in the litigation, as well as the dialogue that we've had with Highland Park over the last few months, as well as with our member partner communities that you represent. I think the biggest thing that occurred, two big things have occurred. First, on May 10th, we have a case that was in front of Judge Groner, which we call the 2020 case. The judge issued an opinion there that required Highland Park to pay at least 65% of its water and sewer revenues to GLWA on a monthly basis. They had 21 days from May 10th to make their initial payment. They did so and have paid, they paid $1.67 million at the end of May. That has been followed by a second payment that we received because the payments pursuant to the agreement were required by the 10th of each month. So we're now seeing a cadence of payments coming from Highland Park that we had not seen before. And that's a positive step for us moving forward. In addition to that, the state is now engaged as well. We've had some dialogue with the state and with the governor's office directly. I believe this honorable body has probably seen that correspondence. But members of various departments within the state are engaged in trying to find a solution moving forward. Finally, with Highland Park, there is a line of communication that started candidly with members of Wayne County's executive team and this commission, so that we're having some direct dialogue with Highland Park to bring resolution. We are looking for a global resolution. What that entails is looking back to resolve the disputes that go back to 2014, but also looking forward to finding a sustainable and long-term solution that has eluded the parties in the past. It's going to be hard work, but we intend to spend the effort at GLWA and believe that Highland Park has the folks in place that can make this goal achievable. There is still litigation going on. The 2020 case continues. There was federal litigation filed by Highland Park that's still in the that's now back in the Sixth Circuit. That's just merely related to attorney's fees that GLWA is entitled to. And then there's the 2014 litigation, which is on appeal right now. So our effort, candidly, is to have the litigation continue because that may bring finality, but sit down with Highland Park and with due diligence, try to find, again, a global solution that's a win-win for all parties. And that's a brief presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, and I just wanted to note for the commissioners, you got a little packet at your desks. And what's included in that is the GLWA resolution that was passed on June 2nd, the GLWA press release, the Mark Hackle and Candace Miller letter of June 6th, the Detroit News article of June 7th, and I also forwarded a letter from CWW to all of you yesterday through email. That's not in the packet, but it's in your email. So Randall, they had, and maybe you can bring everybody up to date on what happened with these resolutions on June 2nd. There were two resolutions put forward, and explain each one and
Sure.
what happened with that.
Sure. The first resolution that was presented, I believe the Macomb County Representative Brian Baker was the sponsor, which included, and I failed to mention this in my opening remarks, the state allocated $25 million to GLWA in its infrastructure appropriations bill, which is also a huge step to, we hope, bringing resolution to this matter. What Director Baker motioned was not only a rollback of charges for the upcoming fiscal year FY 2023, but to allocate the $25 million that we were receiving from the state and basically refund those dollars back to the member communities that had paid Highland Park's bad debt expense for over a decade. That resolution did not pass. And then a subsequent resolution was presented that solely focused on addressing the bad debt expense recovery charge for Highland Park for FY 23 and rolling that back. It's not to say, as we get further clarity from the state as it relates to the 25 million as to what we can use it for, that there couldn't be future board action. But we have not, GLWA, we have not received the funds from the state at this point. And the last time we checked, we learned two things. One, they're still working through their grant paperwork that would allocate the funds to GLWA. And then two, within the appropriations bill, it was solely to be used for a wastewater project. And I know a lot of member partner communities, even though the lion's share of the debt that we see from Highland Park is on the sewer side, there are a number of water communities that have also paid in on the bad debt expense. So the clarity that we got from the state is that it can only be used for wastewater purposes, the $25 million. So we are waiting to see the grant materials so that we can see if, again, further action can be taken. But I think this was the first step, recognizing, again, that Highland Park is paying, that the state is engaged, and was generous enough to give us the $25 million in its most recent appropriations bill. Again, when that did not pass, that's when the second resolution moved forward to remove the bad debt expense for FY 2023 from the charges.
Okay, and I'd just like to note for the commissioners, because I don't know if you've been able to read this, but the only people that voted to give back 40% of the debt to the communities was the Mcclellan representative and the person from the state, right? The state representative?
I believe that's the case. I would have to check my notes, but I believe that that's correct.
Okay, and then the Wayne County representative put forward the resolution to take away the debt for 2022, 2023. Is there any discussion about taking any, I know that the GLE was going to be up with their bond rating. And I'm sure they are like worried about communities, taking their monies and putting them into escrow. My concern is next year is the debt service going to be double because they're not going to make the communities pay this year. So after the review of the bond, then all of a sudden next year there's another determination, and I'm sure everybody will be watching that. I'm not asking you that question because you guys know me, I'm very optimistic, but the level of engagement that we're seeing from the state, Highland Park, our member communities, this honorable body, I think is what creates the progress that my hope, knock on wood, this time next year, we're not talking about this, but we're championing the solution that required all stakeholders to be involved in. And we've reached that resolution that allows Highland Park, GLWA, and all of our member partner communities to move forward. So that's the hard work that we're trying to do right now. I think it is important to note that since both resolutions that went up before our board I believe it was last week, relate to charges, it's a supermajority vote that's required. So 5 out of 6 board members would have to vote in favor of whatever action, right? So the first resolution that included the $25 million did not pass, but there were 5 members that were supportive of the second resolution, which was to roll back the charges for FY 2023. Okay, right now, are there any questions from commissioners for Mr. Brown? And then we'll keep moving it. Commissioner Hattis.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, I know that's been a difficult process. And now you mention as the authority staff collector. Board voted not to refund that. I felt their unfairness in this kind of resolution and vote, because it's not matter of the board decide not to refund some money and we took it away. Even we feel the process was not right process or good process. And to eliminate situation like this in the future, we need to look the bylaw of the authority, because I've been told a long time ago, the bylaw said if one community failed to pay, then all the other would pick up the bill. And to not get back into the same situation we in today, the message you need to take with you, they have to look at what's caused this problem and how can we eliminate that going to the future. I urge the authority to refund those community who already pay some money. And now we realize it's not fair to charge all the other 108 community. We have the state and the federal should be more responsible than community who can't afford to pay those rates. So the whole situation need to be adjusted and to be safe for all the member of the authority. And I hope they reconsider their resolution. Then the other thing, and I heard the authority have $100 some million fund balance. Now we're talking about refund that some community probably it's not going to amount to $15, $16 million. Need to be fair with everybody. We need to protect community who really got in financial. Everybody accept what's going to be implemented and what's going to cost all of us.
I appreciate that, Commissioner. I think we are looking for that comprehensive solution. The engagement of the Wayne County communities have made it clear that they want to see a comprehensive resolution to this, but there's some need to look backwards or look back at some of the charges that they have paid to make the system whole. This is a closed system, right? So these dollars that we get are used to support keeping the lights on, electricity, chemicals, et cetera, for our operational needs. So we need to obviously cover our operations cost. We're also, for our fund balances that you may see, a lot of those fall within our improvement and extension fund. And that's used to do those capital improvements that are necessary on both the water and sewer side, and limits or reduces our need for borrowing and taking on that long-term debt. But we are looking at all those issues and think, hearing from you and also hearing directly from the communities that they're interested in a refund. The one thing that I will say is within one of the court orders that we have to rely upon for our operations, it certainly indicates that when we recover funds, then we have to refund the member partner communities in the subsequent fiscal year. So that would be implemented. That's what we're required to do by a court order, I think from 2011. So we would make sure that happens. But we're going to try to push for a comprehensive resolution. I'd love to get all the dollars back that member partner communities have paid in, and that's what the litigation is doing. There's no discounts there, right? It's saying the full amount is owed, but if there's a compromise, then we just have to work through that. But it will be fully disclosed to these communities as to what we're doing.
Those community who have their money in the escrow, they could pull them back now. No need to keep them.
Our recommendation, and I think Commissioner Marecki alluded to it, part of the strength of our credit is the ability to collect revenue from all member partners. What we heard from the member partners is they were concerned about obviously the past, as you've indicated, but the future, and having the FY 2023 charges have a bad debt expense recovery for Highland Park. We've removed that from the upcoming charges. So our recommendation is that all member partners pay the full amount of their bills, including Highland Park, for FY 2023. I think it's consistent, different county executive, different public works commissioner, but the tenor, I think, of the Macomb County elected officials and public officials suggests that they're in agreement with that. There's more work to be done, but let's have the steady cadence of payment of charges coming from GLWA for FY 2023.
Okay, and they did send that letter saying they weren't going to put anything in escrow, but there's nothing to put in escrow because the debt's going to be paid for next year, right?
That's correct.
Okay, can you clarify something for me? It dawned on me when Commissioner Haddis was speaking. When that resolution was put forward about the $25 million making the communities 40% whole on their debt, was it put forward that the 25 million would come out of the GLWA fund? Because there was specifications on the 25 million coming from the state. Was the resolution put forward to take it out of the general fund to pay the communities, and then the state 25 million would go into the general fund of GLWA?
I think we were still working through the mechanisms, but I think it's pretty close to what you're suggesting. With the ARPA funds that were allocated, there, as you guys know, there's significant restrictions on how you can use those funds. At least from my review, that $25 million would have to be used for a project. So I think you would be basically moving some funds that were in the improvement and extension fund as pay-go capital as being the basis for the refund. But again, those mechanisms to figure that out weren't fully vetted at that point. It was just, let's figure out how with the 25, let's do a refund. But I think there would be further discussion about what pool of funds would go to allocate the refund or pay the refund.
Okay, thank you. And again, just to note, the Wayne County represented voted no for cities and townships to get this refund. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Brown at this point? Go ahead, Sam.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think, Mr. Brown, you alluded to the question I was going to ask a little bit, but I know as the Wayne County Commissioner for the city of Dearborn, I know Dearborn has paid maybe $3.5 million so far or $4 million out of this debt. So am I understanding this correctly, that the cities and the communities will be refunded some of this money very soon?
If we were to settle, or if we were to get a judgment in the court, then yes, that money doesn't just go to GLWA, but the orders require us to reduce charges or give the money back to the member partners in the following fiscal year. So that would be the process.
Okay, great. That's good news. We could use the money in Dearborn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, no, he answered.
Oh, he did. Okay. And I'd just like to note, Commissioner Kinlock is here. I don't know when you came in. I didn't see you. So I'm sure the clerk probably saw you. Okay, you're all set. If you could just stay up here, I'm going to ask our counsel. Felicia, do you have any questions for Mr. Brown?
Through the chair, if I may, I'm going to defer to my colleague, Mr. Helmkamp, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Brown, I just have a few follow-up questions from what you indicated today and the documentation you were good enough to send over. You mentioned following Judge Groner's opinion that Highland Park paid $1.67 million in May and then paid a June payment. Was that also $1.67 million?
It was not. It was reflective, I presume. I think it came across yesterday. I would say it's probably from either April or May 2022. So it's the next payment. Obviously, you got to wait a month to see how much is coming in, but I can confirm whether or not it was April or May 2022.
Well, if you just confirm what the amount is, and then going forward under the Groner judgment, how many months do they have to continue making payments?
So going forward, I would say that they have to continue making payments on a monthly basis on the 10th of the month. I think there will be further action, not to tell too much, that we're looking for clarity from the court about how much Highland Park should be paying GLWA. We're happy for the payments, but we just need further clarity as to what we think the amount is versus what they're suggesting.
Okay. The resolution that passed, again, you were good enough to provide that to us. Thank you. It referenced that the amounts in the resolution, which totaled about 6.7 million, were preliminary and would be subject to change. And then the GLWA press release said that there would be updated charge allocation sheets sent to each member partner community. What's the status of staff's follow-up from the past resolution? And when do you expect those charge allocation sheets will go out to each member community?
I believe they've gone out to the member partner communities either late last week or early this week. Our intent obviously is because each member partner then has the choice of passing their own resolution to adjust the charges to their residents and businesses, that we were trying to do it as quickly as possible so that they could make those changes if they wanted to.
Are those sheets to each community in a collective group such that you could send that over to us?
I suspect that it is in some form or fashion. I don't know if it's a mail merge or what that is utilized, but I can certainly take your request
Or a
back.
table of it, just something that would summarize what the breakdown was by each community would be very helpful, please. Then there was some question at least raised in the media, and I know the intent, because I monitored your meeting, the intent was to cover the entire increase resulting from the bad debt for the upcoming fiscal year. But at least in one media source, a question was raised whether in fact there'd be 100% offset on the water side. Can you confirm that 100% of the water and sewer increase attributable to Highland Park bad debt will be covered by your resolution that was passed?
Yes, so it is the full amount on both water and sewer that we allocated to Highland Park in charges, which we did not expect payment for. That was going to be the bad debt expense. That is all pulled back. And right now, again, we're trying to work on that future state and future solution. But yeah, it's the entire amount.
Okay, thank you. And finally, you referenced the ongoing litigation and you included the 2014 litigation on appeal. Is that the one that dealt with the scope of the facilitation and what the eventual accepted award included but didn't include?
Yeah, that deals with the case evaluation award, wherein somehow the judge, contrary to what the case evaluator's intent was, said that our prior judgment, GOWA or DWSD's prior judgment, was vacated and awarding Highland Park $1 million versus the intent of the case evaluators, which was to have an offset of $1 million off of.
Last question, do you have a hearing date on that appeal in the Court of Appeals?
We do not. I literally check daily. They have granted our motion for an expedited hearing, but a hearing date has not been set.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Palomero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Randall, it's good to see you again.
To you.
And having worked with you over the years, I have always found you to be knowledgeable, articulate, and respectfully effective. And as you are now general counsel for GLEWA, but GLEWA is comprised of all the member communities. As you advocate for GLEWA, do you view yourself as an advocate like we do for all of those communities as well? I mean, how do you, in the big picture, how do you view this whole thing, as you say, the global resolution to this? How do you see this coming together?
Sure. I feel like GOWA is made up and comprised of its member partners, and its engagement is very important to setting the direction of the utility. Highland Park is also a member partner, right? And right now we have a dispute amongst the group as to how we move forward. My job is to find the best solution for all parties to move forward. And it does require, I think, some consideration of how we handle the look back or the refund, as Commissioner Hadous said, but also, Hadis, excuse me, but also to look forward, to build that sustainability. When I look at the 1996 agreement that settled the debt at that point in time between Highland Park and Detroit, it left opportunity for more, right? To have a little bit more control, not even control, but just discussion about how to have some level of sustainability. And that's what we're really focused on, is not dealing with this in another 10, 20 years, but to find some solution between the parties that allows us to move forward. So I think it's, again, looking at representing and supporting the needs of all member partners, including Highland Park, on the way forward.
Thank you, Counselor.
Yeah.
Commissioner Kinlock.
Yes, thank you for appearing this morning. My question for you is, how is all other debt service distributed or debt obligation distributed within the system?
Luckily, we haven't had many situations like this. I think Highland Park, at least right now, is an exclusive company. But this is how we handle it. We need to make the system whole to pay the operation costs and capital needs that we have for the utility. So it is this process of charging a bad debt expense, and then when it is recovered, refunding or reimbursing the communities. So that's the approach. But with this instance, given how long it's gone on, right, it's much larger than it's a large debt that we're trying to wrestle with here.
You have a situation where all of the member communities and specifically the residents are concerned about the water rates. And then on top of this, you had Highland Park and its debt or legacy debt that was thrown into the mix. And it seemed as if GLEWA did not have a clear and transparent conversation with those member partners because this thing basically blew up and created a strong outrage, not just through the governing communities, but also those residents. And so in how you handle spreading debt, how you handle additional extraordinary actions and that you're taking as far as rate and you know associated with the rates that you're charging the member communities. Have you also thought about the way that you make substantial changes and you know have you thought about the way that you communicate with the member partners, because this totally got out of control and created a lot of stresses, taking into account the historical nature of this whole system. So I'm just hoping that you all are learning from this, because it's brought back some very unwarranted, bad memories as it relates to how this community, the region, has responded to this water system.
It's been tough on everyone over the course of the last year, raising attention of this. I will say that we have, in years past, and each year that the bad debt expenses on the charges for a community, we have an extensive rollout in which we share what their charges are, including this Highland Park bad debt expense. I think this year, and at least in my experience since being there since 2017, we have reached out to various different stakeholders to see if they couldn't assist us with resolution. I think what is different this year is we asked our member partners to be that additional voice and to have communication with, state government all the way up to the governor, legislatures, et cetera, to hopefully have everyone's collective thought and ideas come together for a resolution. It's going to be uncomfortable, right? It has been, but I think we have made tremendous progress over the last few months to finding a long-term sustainable resolution to go forward. As it relates to changes to how we handle the bad debt expense, it goes back to all member partners sitting in a room and figuring out what that next solution is. We do have court orders that kind of outline how we handle things now, but everything is subject to amendment and change, and we welcome the ideas coming from communities as to how to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. Really
Thank you.
Appreciate the update, the time you take it. And I know, I believe CWW is on the line, Jordan Selleck. And I can't tell, but if you are on and you want to make any kind of statement, go ahead, Selleck.
Good morning. I just, first of all, I just want to thank the commission for continuing this conversation. It's really important for our communities, and we're really pleased with your engagement and helping us navigate this particularly difficult situation. I just want to say a few things on behalf of our 18 member communities in Western Wayne County. We were, to say it lightly, we were very, very disappointed in the decision by the Great Lakes Water Authority to not refund or credit that $25 million to the member communities. We have paid a significant amount towards the debt. Western Wayne County has paid the vast majority of all of Wayne County towards this debt. And while I understand and we fully agree with Randall in terms of finding a long-term solution and sustainability to the issue, we also believe that that $25 million credit would have been a show of good faith and appreciation to the member communities that have been saddled with this burden for years and have been paying it. In addition, the resolution that was passed to forgive or not charge the debt in 2023 didn't really do anything for our members. We were already holding the debt payments in escrow, so that didn't make any changes for our member communities. As was stated earlier, that the big change in who that helped was GLEWA with their bond rating. So with what the authority did, the authority board members, not Randall or staff, but what the authority did really did not help our member communities at all. So while we do believe in a full-term solution that solves the problem for Highland Park and also gets our member communities credited back the amount that they paid, things are going to have to come in steps. It might not all happen in one fell swoop. We might have to chip away at it, and that would have been, that would have been the first chip to give some credit back to the communities. We're sad that it didn't happen, but unfortunately, it's in the past now. So we'll just be looking forward to working together with everybody involved in the situation and looking forward to hopefully getting better representation for the out county communities in Wayne County on the Great Lakes Water Authority. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for attending the meeting. Okay, well, thanks everyone for the work and coming and taking the time and updating us. Really appreciate it, Randall. Thank you, Jordan. All right. Let's go back to begin the agenda for today.
Item E1, requesting commission approval. I'm sorry, communication from Daryl Jones, Director of Economic Development, forwarding notification of an emergency procurement for a cooperative agreement with Cone.
Okay, this was an emergency procurement for elevator repairs at the medical examiner's office, which we have seen any of these. Any questions on this?
Move for approval, Madam Chair.
Okay, and this is a receive and file.
Yes.
So, okay. You know what, why don't we do the whole agenda because there's so many items and then we'll do that. We'll do this at the end. Okay, Sam? All right. Okay, next item.
Item 2, communication from Beverly J. Watts, Director.
Okay, this is another contract for $1 million. This was an emergency procurement to fill the potholes. And I believe if anyone's here from DPS, this is a third contract, the third and last contract that we have for the pothole filling. And this ended on May 31st. Good morning.
Division Director Joe Tomasic. How you doing? Good morning. Yeah, so this ended on the 31st of May. This was the third contractor and yeah, it's done.
Okay, so is it just our DPS family and staff that are filling the potholes now?
Yes, correct.
Okay, because it's more under control.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is a receive and file as well? Because it's an emergency procurement?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions on this? Okay, thank you. Next item.
Item 3, communication from Andrew Kendrivis, Interim Director, Department of Public Services, forwarding the April 2022 report of all complaint calls made to 188 road crew.
Okay, this is for April. This is also a receive and file. Any questions? Next item.
Item 4, requesting commission approval of amendment number 1 to a 1-year purchase order and terms conditions contract with Farmer Underwood Trucking Ltd.
Okay, this is for aggregates. And is this the third contract with the aggregates as well? Someone say yeah. It was split into three, correct?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Commission. So this is
Steve, why don't you introduce yourself?
Steve Shea, Director of Roads Division.
Thank you.
So this is a contract for the 21 AA, what is being utilized by all the districts, including bridges, to be used for washouts, catch basin repair. So it's really needed.
Yep. Okay. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Commissioner. Michelle Yancey, DPS admin. This is separate than the IPPM equipment aggregates that we had.
Okay.
It was
Right.
Ellsworth, Osborne, and I believe it's one other one that's coming. I
Okay.
can't think of the name off the top of my
Okay.
head, but yeah, it's separate than Rhodes' aggregates.
Okay.
That's
And
what
this-
I was
But there's
about
going to be
say.
3 aggregate contracts?
I believe so.
Okay,
Yes.
total. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions on this? All right, and welcome Commissioner Scott. Okay. All right. Next item.
Item number 5, requesting commission approval of modification 1 to a 1-year contract with Pipe Tech Infrastructure Services LLC.
Okay, any questions on this one? Pretty self-explanatory. Okay, next item.
Item number 5, requesting commission approval of requesting commission approval of a 4-year contract with a 1-year option to renew with Wayne and Rowe Professional Services Company.
Someone from DPS here on this and can just explain briefly. This is on the bridge inspection.
Yes.
Yep,
So,
engineering services.
Good morning, again, Commission. Steve Shea here, DPS Roads. So what happened is when they went out for bid, there were 4 potential bidders. Was Wade Trim, Rowe Construction, Spicer, and one other company. So procurement, because the bids were so tight, procurement decided to add the 4th one, which is Rowe.
Okay, yeah, Great Lakes was the other.
Right, Great Lakes.
Yep.
Right, and then basically they do the critical inspections, bridge inspections as necessary, and we know we need that.
And actually, item 7 is the Spicer Group. The
Spicer is the
same thing.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Any questions on this? Yep, much needed. In the whole state, let alone us. Okay, number 8. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, number 7, yeah, read it. It's the same type of contract as number 6, but go ahead and read it.
Item 7, requesting commission approval of a 4-year contract with a 1-year option to renew with Spicer Group, Inc.
Okay. Number 8.
Number 8, requesting commission approval of a 3-year contract with 2 1-year options to renew with Wayne and Florence Cement Company.
Okay, and it looks like 8 and 9 are connected as well for concrete patching and drainage structure repairs throughout the county. I'm assuming with these 2 contracts, one's doing a lot more work. Number 8, Florence is doing a lot more work than,
Yes,
Century
Commissioner,
Cement.
again, Steve Shea, DPS Road. So those 2 companies, the contract was split into 2. According to procurement, 75% of the contract went to Florence Cement and the other 25% went to Century Cement.
okay, that's what it looks like monetary wise. Thank you. Questions? All right, why don't you read number 9? That is what we just talked about, but go ahead and read it.
Item 9, requesting commission approval of a 3-year contract with 2 1-year options to renew with Century Cement Company.
Right. Number 10, next item.
Item 10, requesting commission approval of amendment number 3 to a 3-year single response contract with 2-year option to renew with Applied Science, Inc.
Okay, this is for no change in the amount, but to continue providing providing technical analysis and support. Any questions? All right, next item.
Item number 11, requesting commission approval of amendment number 2 to a 3-year contract with 2 1-year options to renew with Allied Waste Systems, Inc., DBA Republic Services of Southwest Michigan.
I have a quick question on this. I don't know if someone's here. Oh, here we go. Morning.
Ricky and all commissioners, good morning. Glad to be here today. This is Daryl Jones from Buildings, Capital Development Director.
Okay, so is this just an additional scope for the new criminal justice system that's coming?
It's additional, right, amendment number 2 to the contract that we already have existing and to add the CJC to that.
Okay, so they're going to continue doing the areas that are going to stay here.
That
And
is
then
correct.
when the new criminal justice center starts, they're going to,
Yes, ma'am.
all right, great. This is one of our first contracts probably for the new criminal justice center. Any questions on this? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item 12, requesting commission approval of amendment number 1 to a 5-year real estate lease agreement and 3 5-year options to renew with Gross Ill Golf Club. I'm sorry, Gross
Bless
Ill
you.
Golf and Country Club.
This is a real estate lease agreement portion for the county's right of way, correct? Yeah, it looks like they've been leasing the property since 1931.
Yes.
So we've been doing this for years. Questions? It's making Commissioner Palmera happy. All right, next item.
Item 13, requesting commission approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Township of Brownstown.
Okay, this is for Thorn Park, and this is part of the millage, the park millage money for each commissioner. Questions? Next item.
Item 14, requesting commission approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Township of Redford.
Hey, this is for Craft Park and Claude Allison Park. This is again a commissioner park millage allotment. Questions? Next item.
Item 15, requesting commission approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Charter Township of Huron.
Okay, and that's for Waltz Park. Questions?
Baker on item 15.
Okay, and I will remember that at full board. Okay? All right, next item, please.
Item 16, requesting commission approval of amendment number 2 to an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Westland.
Okay, this is for Stollmeyer Park. Again, Parks millage money. Questions on this one? Next item.
Item 17, requesting commission approval of a 3-year contract with a 1-year option to renew with Orchard Hills and Mcclellan, Inc.
Okay, this is the engineering in the services for the replacement of the 6 Mile Bridge over the Upper Rouge River and pavement rehab on 6 Mile. I do just have a quick question on this. Just to make sure as the residents keep asking. Good morning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alan Coe, Assistant Division Director of Engineering.
Okay, thank
Good
you.
morning.
Is it still on time to be done at the end of fall of this year?
The anticipated end of construction is going to be summer of 2023.
February 23?
Summer of 2023.
It's going to be done the summer of 23?
Yes, ma'am.
The bridge on 6 Mile?
The entire project, that's the schedule.
The what?
That's a tentative schedule.
Okay. I thought it was done in the fall of 22. So that bridge will be closed till February 23?
Yes, ma'am. So we started this construction in March of 2020, May 23 of 2022.
Okay, it's closed down now.
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions on that? All right, next item.
Item F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee. I will read the questions.
Are there any? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay, now we'll take a motion in support.
Okay. Madam Chair, I will move items 1 through 17 for approval, items 1 and 3 being receive and file.
And 2.
And 2.
Someone just had really. Okay, any discussion before we vote on this? And we did have a support, right? We don't, did Commissioner Hattis support?
Okay.
Yeah, Commissioner Hattis supported. Okay, any discussion before we vote? All right, Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Commissioner Varga, Commissioner Palomero,
Yes.
Commissioner Kinlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Hattis,
Yes.
Commissioner Baydun,
Yes.
Chairman Recchi,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Next item.
Now we're going to have such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
Okay, and like I said before, I've not heard. Do you have something?
No.
The next item.
Item G, public comments.
Okay, public comments. We'll start with the audience we have here. Would anybody like to address